Okay, group, we're about to have a victory for Ripple would be tremendous. That's been a long time coming. After 3 years of intense litigation, Ripple has paid an astounding $200 million in legal fees, and the XRP community has suffered greatly, but the victory for the XRP faithful is getting closer. In response to a ruling by Judge Torres that classified some transactions as investment contract offerings, Ripple and the SEC are currently at odds. Especially those from a few weeks ago that involved institutional investors. I uploaded a video while on vacation to emphasize a pivotal moment for Ripple, where a whopping $3 billion was at risk. In essence, the SEC tried to expand the case's scope by attempting, according to a recent SEC petition, to incorporate into the ongoing action all purchases made after the original complaint in December 2020. 3 years' worth of XRP sales to Ripple's on-demand liquidity, to encompass. Fortunately, this approach by the SEC is not usual procedure. Ever since the lawsuit started, partners have sought to prolong and broaden the legal process. John Dion's insights have helped us gain some clarity. I have to say how much I appreciate John Dion's assistance in navigating these tricky legal waters. He deserves our gratitude for his unwavering support of the XRP community. He recently posted a thorough update on his YouTube channel with a wealth of useful information. I've distilled some essential elements to share with you today for those who are following the case, even though I advise watching the entire update for a comprehensive understanding. Now let's examine these important revelations and discuss their ramifications for the XRP community, as well as the larger picture of this legal dispute. The video for today, I would appreciate it if you could quickly do the following for us. If you enjoy our content, please subscribe to our channel, ring the notification bell, and show us some love by hitting the like button. Our goal is to be open and truthful with every one of you. Concentrating on the most recent developments in the financial markets and methods for navigating the ongoing wealth transfer that affects people, families, and companies equally. It is evident that the legal dispute between the SEC and Ripple and its for XRP, the ramifications have been crucial. 3 years of this wealth shift. Judge Torres has notably dismissed the SEC's wide claims against the entire XRP community in this dispute, stating that XRP isn't regarded as a security. The choice was a big victory for the neighborhood, as currently Judge Torres' decision is where the main argument in this case is. Sales to institutional investors were considered to be unregistered since they were part of investment contracts. As a metaphor for the intricacy of this case, securities offerings are clinging to my sticky notes. It's evident that Judge Torres did not distinguish. Any institutional sales, including contracts, were categorized as unregistered in her opinion, regardless of whether they were made to institutions seeking to invest or to support online demand liquidity. I recently shared my study of the broad interpretation of the securities offering without differentiation, which has important ramifications for Ripple and the broader crypto industry as it navigates the legal and regulatory frameworks that create these emergent financial landscapes. Shared was the original SEC motion to compel a few weeks ago, and it turns out that our first ideas were pretty close to what we learned after speaking with John Dion, an authority who has given us important clarity on the subject. Now, Judge Torres has put Ripple in a position where it needs to show that some sales to authorized and institutional investors might not fall under his broad classification. This differentiation may lessen the severity of the penalty that Ripple encounters. According to John Dion, the sanction that Ripple ultimately faces may be far smaller than the amount the business has already spent on legal fees. He implies that the purpose of the fine is not to penalize Ripple unduly. Instead, to draw attention to the noncompliance and charge a small amount as a remedial method. This result would allow Ripple to make the necessary corrections and carry on with its commercial activities. But the SEC, using a more punitive approach, wants to include all sales posts in the case, filing a lawsuit to stop this expansion. Ripple can contend that the arrangement of these sales does not resemble an investment agreement. Contesting this defense's attempt to classify them as such by the case's outcome and Ripple's capacity to handle the regulatory environment going forward may be greatly influenced by their strategy. In the end, it all comes down to Ripple trading XRP for fiat money in transactions intended for institutions that use it for on-demand liquidity. This is not an investment contract. There are no profit expectations or lockup times. Ripple contends that since its post-complaint sales were excluded from the initial case, it shouldn't even have to defend them. By including these posts, the SEC is making another attempt to overstep the law about complaint sales. Into the current case. The sea of a momentous occasion, with February 12th designated as a crucial date. In the coming weeks, we anticipate Judge Torres' ruling. The legal phase known as the discovery portion of the remedies is coming to an end, and soon we'll know if Ripple is required to disclose financial statements for 2022 and 2023, as well as any investment contracts for inclusion in the lawsuit. However, most legal experts, including John Dion, think that it is unlikely that Judge Torres will order Ripple to turn over these documents for a case because it is customary for the discovery phase to be when any ongoing sales that the SEC wishes to include should have been identified. Extension that doesn't follow the rules of the law. I firmly believe that Ripple carried out those sales with assurance because they were organized in a way that made it obvious that it was not an investment contract. John Dion's analysis provides important context and a cause for hope in Ripple's impending win. He believes that compared to its legal expenses, which have topped $200 million, the fine that Ripple is expected to receive would be significantly smaller. He proposes a relatively small fine, raising questions about the precise percentage. It might be as low as 10% or as high as 25%, which raises the possibility of a fine between $10 million and $50 million. This kind of fine wouldn't be intended to punish Ripple severely. Rather, it would be intended to serve as a warning to other businesses to refrain from engaging in similar activities. This viewpoint highlights the need to strike a balance between enforcing regulatory compliance and promoting innovation in the quickly developing digital asset space. Taking into account the scenario wherein Ripple faces a fine of between $10 million and $50 million for a company with over $1 billion in cash reserves that are still cash flow positive and holds a sizable amount of XRP, it sheds light on the case's broader implications not only for Ripple but for the entire crypto industry. A fine of that kind would only be a small inconvenience. The cost is tolerable. That permits Ripple to carry on with its business without significantly affecting my belief that the SEC's capacity to push farther will be constrained, particularly considering how strong the case is from Ripple's point of view. Judge Torres' dismissal of the interlocutory appeal suggests that Ripple has a strong case. Should she deny additional appeals? Supports the idea that, even if some of the early purchases had expectations and lockup periods, which made them become investment contracts, these were intended for accredited investors and organizations that lessen the severity of the penalties. Also, it's critical to acknowledge that the sales in question took place at a time when XRP's value was much lower than it is now, suggesting that those who invested are now making money, disproving any possible complaints of injury from this aspect, and weakening the case for a sizable, implying that any fines imposed would be primarily symbolic, intended to establish a precedent for regulation rather than to make up for any actual losses. Consequently, do keep in mind that I am not a certified financial advisor, and the information in these videos is only meant to be watched for enjoyment. I constantly advise people to do independent studies and speak with experts before making any financial choices. I appreciate you watching, and if you liked the video, please click the thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe and enable the alerts so you can be the first to know when I upload new content. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Take care.